How's it going, everyone? My name is Sean and welcome to Invest with Fire. And in this video, I want to give you 4 reasons on why you should become an environmental engineer. And this video is going to be different than all my other videos because I want to give you just my whole experience in the environmental engineering field. I've been an environmental engineer for almost 7 years now, coming in October. And I work for a small remediation environmental company. And if you're not aware of what remediation means, basically it just means cleaning up the environment, you know. And this video, I want it to be, just kind of like uncut because I just want to give you just a true experience in this field. So just to give you a little background, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in environmental science from, why am I forgetting this? But UC Riverside. There we go. UC Riverside. Go Highlanders. You know what I mean? So that was back in 2007 and 2008 is when I graduated from my undergrad in environmental science. And during that time, it was really hard to find a job, especially because around that time, that's when the whole financial collapse happened. And a lot of people were kind of freaking out and uncertain what the future would be. So because of that, a lot of companies weren't really hiring, especially someone straight out of college that had no experience. So during that time, I got an unpaid internship where I got to work on different sustainability issues at UC Riverside. And that was cool, but the problem was that I was commuting 1 hour or 2 hours each day to that job for an unpaid internship. But I did it for the experience, and it was a good experience. And after that, I got another couple of internships and jobs here and there. And finally I was like, all right, well, I'm not really getting a full-time job. So I got my master's in civil engineering and environmental engineering from Cal State Fullerton. And these colleges are in California, if you're not familiar with them. And that degree was really good because I got my master's degree in about like 2 years or 1.5 to 2 years. And when I graduated, I had a master's now. And so the main reason why I got that master's was that because 1, people weren't hiring, and 2, I didn't really like the prospects of my environmental science degree. And I wanted to pick up an engineering degree because I understood that people saw that if you're an engineer, they know that you have some kind of baseline or some kind of credit behind your degree, right? If you're an engineer, people understand that you know how to do math, basically, right? So after that, that's when I got hired for this small remediation consulting firm that I work currently right now at. So that's just a little background, and I'm gonna go dive into and provide more stories behind that. So let's go. So the first reason on why you should become an environmental engineer is that the salary is decent. If you're an engineer, you know that you're just, your salary is going to be somewhat decent compared to someone who doesn't have an engineering degree. Because I think companies and employers understand that if you have that degree in environmental engineering, then you have some kind of baseline to do math, have some kind of aptitude to learn, right, and apply yourself. I choose to work for a small remediation environmental company is because I get to learn a lot from this company. And since it's so small, I pretty much have to do everything. Pretty much everything. I need to learn how to do every small thing. I can't just be niched, into just doing one thing. So for example, if you work for like a larger environmental engineering firm, you might get pigeonholed into just doing groundwater monitoring reports. And if you like doing groundwater monitoring reports, that's great. If you like to write, communicate, analyze data, that'd be great. That would be a great role for you. But the problem is that it might be hard for you to move up, only unless you really push yourself and network and just try to work on different parts of an environmental project, especially for a larger environmental consulting firm. So that's where I'm going with that, is that I'm working for a smaller firm because I'm learning a lot. You know, I'm taking steps to become a project manager. And as a project manager, you're just doing everything. You're kind of a jack of all trades. So I'm going to go into that a little bit more. But just to wrap it up, yeah, if you're working for a small company, you're going to be definitely paid less than if you were to work for a larger environmental consulting firm, like Tetra Tech or something, or Parsons, you know. So there's that. There's pros and cons between each kind of position and company, you know. And if you work for the government, you're probably going to be paid somewhere in the middle between of a larger private company and a smaller private company. But your benefits might be really good too. And it might be of a more relaxed work environment too. So that's that kind of range. So if you want to get paid less but learn more, work for a small environmental engineering consulting company. And if you want to kind of get paid in the middle to maybe on the higher end, work for the government, you know, or the city, you know. And if you really want to earn a lot of money, work for a large consulting firm, because you have the most opportunity to earn a lot of money in there. Another thing, working for a small, like, niche environmental consulting company, is that maybe not all of them, but my company, they support me. And what I mean by that is that a lot of these larger environmental consulting companies, I've never really worked for one, but I've known people that worked for them, and I've heard stories of them. And what they tell me is that what they basically do is that they kind of just have like batches. They have batches of new hires, and they just hire them, and they kind of just see how they do, right? It's like the fittest of the survival. The survival of the fittest, shall I say. Where if you just don't perform well, they kind of just let you go, you know. Versus my company, for a small niche company, they really put a lot of effort into developing you and helping you like advance your career so that you gain the skills to manage a project. Because becoming a project manager, that's the ultimate goal of, shall I say, environmental consulting, right? Especially if you want to earn a lot of money and have a decent salary, that's the goal of becoming a project manager. So the second reason on why you should become an environmental engineer is that you get to work outside, and you get to work with environmental remediation systems and technologies. And if you just like being outside and kind of just getting away from the office, being an environmental engineer is great because it's in the title, right? Environment, right? Duh. Why am I just saying the obvious? But if you weren't aware, yeah, you get to work in the environment. So it's kind of nice to get outside the office sometimes, right? Environmental engineering fieldwork can range. There's a wide range of fieldwork that you need to do. It can range from just doing something really simple as providing oversight. For example, like a job that you might need to do is just kind of go to a project site and just basically manage a subcontractor. And what that means is that, say for example, you have a treatment site, right? And you just need to clear all the weeds from the site. So you just need to show up and do all your health and safety meetings and all that. Make sure, you know, nothing goes wrong. And you just basically stay there and just watch the subcontractor or the person clean up the weeds from the site, because you can't have weeds overgrowing a project site because you want that project site to look good. And, you know, or it could be on the other spectrum of fieldwork, where you can be actually doing all the fieldwork. So for example, if you need to sample the groundwater at a site, you need to actually be collecting. Let me say that again. You need to be collecting. Let me say that again. You need to actually be out there collecting groundwater. So you could be throwing down pumps down the wells and pumping the water out of the wells, and collecting the water, and then putting those bottles in coolers and submitting that to a laboratory to analyze the samples. So your fieldwork can really range. And right now I get to work on a really cool project where I get to basically work on a treatment system every 2 weeks. And what we're doing is basically we're growing bacteria in the ground. And how we feed that bacteria is with methanol. So I have to pump or inject about 700 gallons of methanol into the ground. And I also have to pump or inject about 600 pounds of this nutrient that helps kind of grow the bacteria in the ground. And it's like a multivitamin because we're trying to help and grow the bacteria so that they can eat the contaminants in the ground. And we're also doing like a pump and treat where we pump out the groundwater and re-inject it and basically create like a cycle loop where we just make this loop where we just kind of feed the bacteria to help them eat the contaminants in the ground. So your fieldwork can range, right? You don't think that you're going to be some kind of environmental engineer and just sit in your office and do calculations, you know? Don't be a nerd, you know what I'm saying? You're going to be out there, you're going to be just doing, you could be doing grunt work. If you need to clean up a site and collect all the leaves and stuff like that, you need to do that because the ultimate goal is that you need to make a project site or, you need to maintain and run a project site so that you can meet your client's goals. And I know that sounds kind of convoluted, but basically the client is the person paying you to clean up a project site. So you need to help them clean up the site. And that's what a remediation environmental engineer does, right? So I have one more story too for fieldwork. The owner of the company that I work at, and a lot of the higher ups that have like master's degrees and doctor's degrees in engineering, right? They decided to dig a trench to install the system because it was cheaper if they did it versus hiring another company to do it, because just the company just costs too much, and they're trying to save their client money. So they went ahead and dug a trench. And these are guys, this is the owner of a company who's making, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And these are engineers that have years of experience and a lot of education. And they decided to dig a trench because it'll be cheaper for their client. And when they were digging this trench, a mother and a son walked by and they saw them digging a trench, right? And the mother told the son right in front of them that this is why you should get education. This is why you should go to school, because you don't want to be digging trenches like these folks right here. So that's pretty funny, and that kind of gives you, that kind of makes you humble and know that if you're going to become an environmental engineer, you have to understand that you kind of need to do everything, and even if it's just grunt work. So just understand that. The third reason on why you should become an environmental engineer is that you're kind of a jack of all trades. The ultimate goal for my company or for employees at my company is to become a project manager. And what a project manager does is basically manage a project. They meet scope, schedule, budget. I could just hear my company just saying that right now. Where you basically have to manage, you have to meet the scope of the job, manage the budget and the schedule to make sure that you deliver, on time and on schedule and on budget. So if you're kind of a jack of all trades and you like doing everything, working in the environmental engineering field would be great for you. The third reason on why you should become an environmental engineer is that you're a jack of all trades and you kind of like learning about everything. And once you learn everything, you like bringing all that together. Project management is you pretty much have to kind of be good at everything. You have to be good at developing a scope of work, managing a budget, and meeting a schedule, right? So it's a lot of that. So it's a blend of just technical work, communication, being good with numbers, being able to do independent research, and managing people, talking to clients, managing the client's expectations, So if you're really good at just juggling a lot of things, right, and you like kind of being involved in a lot of things, I would think working for a small remediation company would be great for you. And I think if I were to choose to, if I'm straight out of college, I think working for a small consulting firm would be great for your career for at least a couple years, because you would kind of you would learn about everything, every aspect of of environmental engineering, of managing a project. For example, like when we get lab reports, we get these data files that we have to upload to the California kind of database where they hold all this information called GeoTracker, right? And so I think if you work for a larger company, you don't really have to do that. I think you just pass that on to the data guy, and the data guy just uploads it, you know? But as a small consulting firm, you have to either do that yourself or work with someone on getting that data uploaded, you know, just to make sure that your reporting is on time. So if you like doing that and being involved with everything and learning a lot of new skills and new things, I think working in the environmental engineering field would be great for you, especially in a small consulting firm. Another part about project management is that you have to understand that like calculating things, designing things is basically a commodity. And what I mean by that is that almost anyone could calculate something or design something if they're given enough time, you know? Like, or there could be a program that could be developed, and that program can replace that person designing something or calculating something, right? So you have to understand that. And even field work, right? If you're just going out to a subcontract, going out to a site and just watching someone do work, and that's basically a commodity. You know, anyone could kind of do that, and you could kind of pay someone less and less just to do that work. But project management, that's a skill and not a commodity, you know? You really have to learn how to manage your client's expectations, right? Communication is also something that's a skill, and working with people and meeting their expectations, that is a skill itself, right? So you have to understand that. You can be the greatest you could be the greatest mathematician, but if you can't communicate, what you calculated correctly, or if you can't talk and manage a client's expectations, you're basically a commodity, So that's very important to understand, because that's how you move up in a company, and that's how you add value. It's not by just making sure you have the most precise budget. It's more about managing people's expectations, meeting your client's goals, and figuring out their goals and what they want, because sometimes they don't even know what they want, So that's a very good thing to understand if you want to become an environmental engineer. I also wanted to add that being in the environmental engineering field helped me learn about investing. I have a story where a coworker, they were with the company about over 10 years, and we have this 401k where money's automatically deducted and put into their investing account. But what they didn't know is that they actually have to invest that money. And they just assumed that money was being invested, and for 10 years, that money was going into that checking account, and it wasn't being invested. And that really pained me. And that was one of the things that helped me, that was one of the things that made me create this YouTube channel, because I wanted to help people invest and help them understand what they're investing into. Because just learning how to invest is a skill that will help you for your future and, your kids, your children, So that really paid me. And being a project manager, you kind of have to know a little about everything, right? You can't just black box things and just say, oh, okay, that will be handled, so I don't need to worry about that. Just being a project manager yourself, you have to understand just a little about everything and bring it all together. And I find investing just like that. You can't understand everything. It would almost be impossible. But what you need to understand is just a little about everything, right? And bring that together and make that into your investing, philosophy and your mindset, and your systems, right? So project management really helped me in my investing career. So I just want to add that as another reason why you should become an environmental engineer. And the fourth reason on why you should become an environmental engineer is that you like learning new things. The remediation field is always changing, and there's always new technologies coming out. the old trend of remediation in environmental engineering was to build like these really big environmental systems, treatment systems that would clean the groundwater or the air or the soil in the ground. But the trend now is to do more injections where you actually inject chemicals into the ground and they destroy contaminants into the ground. A technology is called like ISCO technology. So that's kind of the trend, and there's almost a million ways, or there's several different ways on how you can treat a site, and it all kind of depends on the site, right? It depends on the soil. It depends on if there's any like sensitive receptors around the site. It depends on what the client wants, what is the budget of the project, how fast do you need to do it. So it's all these factors that go into developing a treatment plan for a site. So just because of that nature, each site is individual and unique. So you need to tailor your treatment systems or your technology to that site. So because of that, you kind of need to know everything, like how I mentioned in project management, but you need to be constantly learning about new technologies and how you could treat a site. So if you like learning and seeing different things, I think environmental engineering would be a great field for you. One technology I wanted to talk about real quick was that we had this technology called bioventing. And it's it's not a usual kind of process. But what we found out is that, well, first of all, bioventing is basically when you just blow just regular air into the ground. The normal technology is to just basically inject oxygen into the ground, and that helps kind of grow bacteria to eat all like the contaminants in the ground. But this wasn't injecting pure oxygen into the ground. It was basically injecting just regular air into the ground. Regular air still does have oxygen in there, but this was kind of a more passive way and cheaper way to kind of treat the site versus injecting pure oxygen, which that system just requires more energy and effort. So that's kind of like what you need to do, right? That site, it was perfect for bioventing because it had the right lithology in the ground to grow bacteria. And all we need to do was just figure out this cheaper solution, and this helps save the client money. So that's what you need to understand when you join the environmental engineering field, is that you just need to learn about new technologies, and you get to work with these new technologies and always constantly be learning. So that's it, everyone. That was my 4 reasons on why you should become an environmental engineer. Just to summarize, you have a decent salary, right? You get kind of paid in the middle road compared to other engineers, so that's good. The second reason is that you get to work with different technologies and you get to be in the field. So if you like being outside and working on cool treatment systems and interacting with different people outside the office, I think that would be good. The third reason is that you're a jack of all trades and you want to manage projects and be constantly learning. And that's kind of the fourth reason, right? You like to learn new things and apply yourself. So that's it, everyone. I hope that helped you, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you. Bye.